Go
Nobody else wrote
live.
theirs. Nobody else wrote theirs in the show notes. I wrote mine in the show notes. So
I wrote
John.
mine in the show notes.
Okay, all right. So did Mike.
I was
There were show notes?
trying. I was trying
I
to
must
be
have been in the wrong
surprising.
channel.
Donuts?
Shonut? What's a shonut? Is that like a donut?
Show
I was
nuts.
just gonna say, are we talking donuts now?
Yeah, that's. I could go for
I
a
think he's
donut.
talking
I could go
about
for a
ball
donut.
sack.
Donut.
Show nuts. Show nuts.
If,
No,
if
it's-
the show nuts were that edible, I probably would have found them in the right channel.
The oxes pulled the cart. No, it's oxen. Oh, okay. Well, now do the plural of box. Boxen. I wanted a boxen of donuts.
I have heard that. I don't know what the hell it's from, but I know I've heard that.
It's
Oh gosh, why can't I remember his name? It's a
You're
comedian.
hurting my head with that stuff. You're just-
MOON spells toolbox.
God, this always happens.
So anyways, welcome to the Joysticks Canada Games Cast of the last one of 2020.
Made it.
Whee, whee, whee.
Yeah, we
We're
did a lot of
we're all
these.
alive still. Like, why wouldn't we be? But this is the oh yeah, sorry, that thing. Forgot about that.
Small thing.
This is our annual. I say annual because this is literally the second time we've done it. Same time of year. Top 5 games to 2020. I think there's a few more people this time around. I think last time we had there's maybe 4 of us. Now we got 6. Yeah. So I figured what we could do is just go do a little roundy-roo. Kind of go down from 5 to 1. I don't know if you guys see what I'm seeing, but I'll kind of just call out who's clockwise because I think everyone's different on your own screen. But yeah, so it's me, Richard, Nick, John, Mark, and Mike. Voila. I know names. So guys, I'd love to start if that's okay with you guys. I'd love to
You
start
did
with
just say you. so
game
I'm gonna-
number 5, Richard. Shh.
Numero Hanko?
Numero Sanko.
Cinco? How do you say it? Sank.
I say Sanko, like Sanko the coffee.
Sanko, yeah.
Number 5 for me, and this is only number 5 because I haven't had enough time to play it, and I think it's going to be on pretty much everyone's list, is Ghost of Tsushima. I've only played maybe, I don't know, between 6 and 8 hours of the main campaign, and I fucking love it, obviously. The online is good, but I've only played the multiplayer with you guys. I haven't done the horde mode type of thing with you guys. I haven't done the actual online co-op stuff yet, so I'm sure if I had more time with the game, it would probably be way up higher on this list, but so far it's I can't give it more than that, but it was, yeah, it's just a friggin' amazing game, especially on PS5.
Yeah, man.
Which is
PS5.
actually, well, it's the only way I played it. Yeah, I know.
HDR Majesty is just so good. So
Oh my
good.
God, it just looks insane. Yeah. Richard.
So you didn't experience the 30 FPS to 60 FPS jump that we all did.
No, and I almost
Well, not we
kind
all.
of,
I
I
John.
kind of almost wish that I had, so I could be like, oh my God. But at the same time, I started the game right from the beginning with this glorious friggin' 4K 60 kind of. It looks absolutely incredible. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't go wrong for sure. I'll talk more about that game shortly. But so my number 5 is Animal Crossing: New Horizons, which I think I'm probably going to be the only one who played any amount of that video game. Did anybody else even play it this year?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I played maybe 20 hours of it.
Oh wow, that's more than me.
I watched my kid play 5 minutes of it.
Okay, cool. 5 minutes, good. I think I clocked over 100 hours in the first
Holy shit!
few months of that game, I'd say.
It's a little bit.
And
So-
then come probably about July or so, I just never went back. So let that tell you all you need to know about Horizons, New Horizons rather. For me, it was a very time and place video game. Like it literally dropped right as lockdown was coming out. I was like,
Yeah.
I've never played an Animal Crossing game before. I have no idea what to
Really?
expect. Never
Wow.
ever have I played an
Okay.
Animal Crossing. Yeah, so like this was my first foray into it, and it was exactly the right kind of game for March of 2020. And it just kind of carried me through all the way through, the first
Well,
3 months of quarantine.
For me, it was the toss up between do I do Animal Crossing or do I play Doom Eternal? Doom won that one because I wanted to.
Yeah, they came
bash
out on the
things.
same day, right? Those two
Yeah,
games came out on the
exact
very
same
same
day.
day. It was like that couldn't be two different games.
But again, like yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like rip and tear, or cute little fuzzy animals that I try and find homes for and then give presents to. Like it was gonna be the latter.
No, rip and tear. Rip and tear. Rip and tear.
Yeah, John just wanted to
Give
get
me
his
the
anger out.
chainsaw.
So it's Nick next.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah,
no
it's really
way.
funny. I don't. This was a weird year for me because I took a big chunk off during the summertime and I didn't really play anything. It really wasn't until after Ghost of Tsushima came in with their multiplayer that I really kind of got back into console gaming. I think I rebooted my Elite Dangerous account back in January. I kind of put together a head tracking unit. And so I kind of said, you know what, I got to put more time into that. I picked up a better monitor and, like yada, yada, yada. Honestly, I think I'm looking at the list of games released in 2020 and I think I've only can say 4 of the games that I've even played. So I'm going to skip number 5, and I'm just going to say I played a lot of Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, best 2015 game in the year 2020.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Whatever you played the
Oh,
most.
sure, yeah,
Yeah, kind of really fell into it. So
that's awesome. I've played 20 minutes of that, 30 minutes, however long the tutorial is.
I think
VR,
I got something like 800 hours into that game now. So
Jesus.
amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like Cities Skylines for me. How about you, John?
John's next, yeah.
For me, it was Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh yeah, baby.
The story was fantastic. The seamless play was great. The adventure that you go through, the beautiful colors that you get, and then how you get to spend all of like your little skill points and leveling up your character. It's all fun, man. All fun.
John, have you played that game in 120 FPS on your CX?
No,
On your Xbox Series X? You're
I
the
have
worst.
not
You're
played
the
it.
worst kind of person. You should absolutely do that this weekend. That's
All right.
that's what I want to see that game in. Like that game was gorgeous on my PC. I don't even know what
Exactly.
frames I was pushing, but like I would imagine this at 120 on your CX is going to be incredible.
Yeah. I
Can't
think
wait,
it's
man.
4K
I'm gonna do it.
120, something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean I think it's a full 4K 120. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It was beautiful on my old non-HDR experience TV,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's going to be breathtaking in this new gaming experience. So.
They're coming out with DLC?
Expansion, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Good excuse to get back into it.
I'll definitely play it.
Sure.
How about you, Mark?
Ooh, I'd say it's Doom Eternal.
Oh.
It
Numero
was,
cinco.
Yeah.
Ooh.
all the I needed more things to rip and tear. I just finished the old Doom maybe half a year ago. I replayed it,
Oh shit! Nice.
and it's more of the same. It's just a little bit more. I would say a little bit more actiony, but it was really fun.
So old one, like 2000.
16.
2016?
2016. Yeah.
Yeah, 2006. Yes, that one was actually a lot of fun too.
It was really good. So it was nice to play that and then almost continue right away into the new game.
The platforming was cool. The platforming aspect of Doom Eternal was neat. It was like
Yeah,
they
they
actually
added a
did
lot
it
of
pretty well.
Cause you had like the bars that you could swing off of
Yeah.
Even the additions like the knife and the flamethrower and all that stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Isn't that all supposed to hit Game Pass, PC Game Pass this year?
Yeah, I think isn't it?
Yep.
Is it,
It's on Xbox, but I think it's supposed to come
Yeah,
to
but-
PC soon.
The PC one?
Maybe
Okay.
January something.
I thought it was supposed to be December, but yeah, that's why I was biding my time to jump into Doom Eternal for that.
and I think that was one of the first few games that had RTX too, wasn't it?
I think so.
That and
I know
Control.
Quake. I know Quake definitely did.
Yeah.
Like Quake
I-
2 or
Oh, the
whatever.
Quake 2 RTX, which is amazing
Right.
to have.
Yeah.
I have that.
Control's supposed to be
Control.
fantastic.
Control is supposed to be really
Control
nice,
looks
yeah.
incredible without even
haven't-
like without
Yeah.
ray tracing. It looks phenomenal.
Like, it's the one game this year that I haven't touched at all, and I'm kind of
Oh,
kicking myself.
nice.
going,
Oh,
I
it's
gotta
so
touch this.
good.
Oh,
With your
boy,
video,
I have
yeah,
to
with your
look at it.
video card now,
Oh,
John, you have to play it.
Dude, it's
So good.
$25 for the Ultimate Edition on Steam. I just checked.
Yeah. I
It's
saw
also-
it was on the part of the winter sale that's going on. So
It's also
Yeah,
free
John,
on Game
I
Pass.
played 20 minutes of that. I've got it installed and it's queued up for after Cyberpunk is all done.
Nice, yeah.
So-
That's a good one. That'll be
Yeah.
a good palate cleanser, actually.
I've got
It's a fantastic game.
Controls queued up after Cyberpunk alongside finishing off Ghost of Tsushima. Sorry.
Nice, yeah.
Continuing on.
Michael.
So my number 5 for the year was Paper Mario and the Origami King.
Nice.
I like everything about the game except for the combat. Like the little puzzle where you spin those discs is really annoying to me, and I feel a lot of pressure because there's a time limit on it every time I have to do it. So it's just not fun. And then if you want more time, you have to blow your coins on it. So I'm a hoarder in games, and I don't like spending my money on shit unless like I'm at the end of the game and I'm like, okay, buy all the best stuff. So all the mechanics are working against my anxiety. So, but the story is like lovely and the art is amazing. It's just a very pretty game, and it's actually pretty funny. Like I actually laughed out loud a few times, just because of it's mostly the toads that you find. Like they just say really random funny shit. So, yeah, I would say Paper Mario. It's worth playing, but yeah, combat kind of sucks. I wish I could just turn off the combat.
Yeah, I've only seen videos of the combat, and it does look kind of. I never really understood what the hell was going on. I was just like, okay, I guess that's the game. I'm sure I'll understand it if I play it, but I don't know. It does look really, really cool though. Like the look of the game is amazing.
Yeah, it looks incredible. Have you ever played? You played other Paper Mario games? I'm guessing.
No, I played Super Mario RPG for Super Nintendo,
Okay.
but that was like, I guess, kind of what they based them off of, but it wasn't a paper game.
I've never played any of them either. But yeah, the combat I just couldn't wrap my head around either. I looked at a bunch of videos and stuff, and the art style looked really good, but I just didn't want to parse the combat.
It's a little repetitive, and again, the puzzle aspect is just annoying in my opinion.
Yeah, but a good world or a good story can kind of push you through that. So
Oh yeah.
nice.
Numero cuatro. Yeah, this is one of the other games that I haven't had enough time to play, but I've really, really enjoyed what I have played of it, and that would be Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh, I just bought it.
It's super fun, man. It's just exploring and walking around in that game is so much fun, and it looks just amazing. For like, I'd say 90% of the time, it looks incredible. The other 10% of the time, you're like, whatever. You just don't notice it. But then that other 90%, you're like, fuck, that looks really cool. My only complaints of the game were like when it first released, it was pretty fucking buggy for the Series X. Like the frame rate was shit. There was just a lot of issues with it, which have all been fixed since. But the vast majority of what I've played have been since that patch, so it was kind of like my entire experience was kind of like but even that being said, it was still a lot of fun. The one thing I will say though, the chick's voice is really annoying. I don't know who else has played the game. The chick, like, because you can play as a guy or a chick. The chick's voice, really, really annoying. I kind of wish that I would have chosen the guy, but apparently you can actually switch, like, anytime you want during the game. You can switch to the guy. Like, you can switch between them. I'm like, that's really bizarre, but okay.
It's a shame about the voice.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
go on, Nick.
I didn't have a problem with her voice, but I did have a problem with the ability to flip-flop back and forth. It really diminishes your choice making and kind of feels like you aren't really stuck to a persona. And I feel that with a lot of these games that are RPG oriented, you should really be stuck to a choice. Like that's kind of the purpose of the
Yeah.
game, is to understand the consequence of your choice making, right?
Yeah.
And albeit it's just a gender, but I mean at the same time it's
Assassin's Creed is still more an action game though than an art. Like they've become an RPG with Origins and Odyssey, but I think it's still more an action game than anything else. But that said, I thought they did a really great job with Odyssey in
I was
terms
about
of
to
how
say.
they did the story, yeah, between the two different genders. But
Cassandra's voice was freaking
And
Well,
also
fantastic.
that was the
phenomenal.
thing.
That's why I
Cassandra,
played it,
Cassandra as a character was so much better than the other
she was
guy.
more interesting too. Yeah.
And her dialogue was better. Her acting was better. I was like, oh my god. So when Valhalla came out, I was like, obviously I'm gonna be the girl because like it's totally gonna be better, and it's definitely not in my opinion. That's just a personal opinion, I think. But like, I don't know, because Vikings are like total brutes and savages and just insane. So like, I don't know. It just made more sense for some big hulking friggin' dude with a massive beard and shit just to start going nuts. Like it just made more sense. I don't know why, but it just did. She was fine, but it was just I don't know. I think it just took something away from the game. But yeah, no, it's super super fun. I don't know, after Cyberpunk's done, I don't know if I'll go back to Valhalla or Tsushima first. I can't decide. I think it'll probably be Tsushima, but who knows? Have to wait and see.
Which is a really great segue into my
Richard's
number 4.
numero quattro.
Yeah, which was Ghost of Tsushima, where I have clocked, I don't know, 30, 40 hours. How many hours do you think we've played multiplayer? Nick, you played way more than me, but John, you and I played the same.
yeah, I think I've played more multiplayer than I've done single player. I think the first campaign, like I've yet to really get into the single player kind of campaign. Like I enjoyed it, but I also enjoyed, crushing an hour of my time, in a nonstop action oriented, my hands would be sweaty afterwards. And I would be mentally exhausted with how much jumping around you're going in order to do some of
100%.
these. Yeah.
And I actually almost think that Ghosts is on here more because of the multiplayer experience that I had than the single player experience. As good as the single player experience is, and I'm being very John, I think you played the same way, and I'm sure you'll talk about it soon, but I'm being very like deliberate in not doing the main story mission in the single player game. Like I just want to experience the world, the environments, the side stories, the side characters, and just like I want to take my time with it. So when we get into the multiplayer, it's just much more like I gotta get my key level up and get my extra like weapons and armor and all this kind of stuff. It's very much hitting all those really good dopamine notes, whereas the single player story is just not. I'm not playing it that way. So
it's a slower grind for sure.
it is, yeah, and it's still fantastic, but 100%. I think this game is on here at my number 4 spot because of the multiplayer.
I would grind isn't the right word. It's slower paced. It's a slow burn is really what you want to what I want to say, because it's something that you want to enjoy.
Yeah, just the world they've crafted is incredible. So like I have no want to rush through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna skip to number. I can skip to next because, quite honestly, I've only really had 3 games that I've played this year, and we're talking a lot about them. So, John, you can go, or Mike, whoever. Mark's sitting there patiently. So,
I think John's next.
Yeah, go John.
Go for it, John.
My number 4 is Paper Mario: The Origami King. Like Mike's number 5.
Nice.
And similar to Mike, the thing that I liked least about the game was the combat. You've got a set of rings that you have to do, and you have to line up your enemies, and then you choose an attack based on what your enemy is after you've lined them all up. And so, like, after you've done like your first little bit of the story, it shows you the different kinds of combat, and then it's like random encounters where you have to fight a few guys here and there. But I did like the world that they created for this. It's much more. It's the same as like the original Paper Mario, but with the uniqueness of all the origami and the way that they've done the changes between 2D and 3D in that space too. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool.
Cool. I think it's interesting that neither of you like the combat, but it still made your top 5 for the year.
Combat sucks. Still like the game.
Actually,
amazing, because that's
like
like
a
the core
testament,
game.
though, right? Like I think that's pretty impressive.
Well, the way that you get locked into that story, and then the amount of hours that I've sunk into that game, I'm shocked at how much I've played it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those I can pick it up at any time and kind of continue wherever I left off, and
Cool.
you don't really like lose the plot in it. It's so sequential like that. There's a
The,
little bit of
the collectibles are pretty addictive. Like that's a pretty fun part of the game.
yeah, for sure. That I really liked.
How about you, Marcus?
Oh, well, we just talked about it. Actually, it was Control.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
I picked that one up on PC because of the RTX, and I needed something to run this 2070, right?
To put it
So,
through its paces.
Put it through its paces. Plus, it's done by Remedy, which I loved Alan Wake. I never tried Quantum Break. I heard it was all right.
It was
Good.
it was
But,
fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this game was really well done.
Love it.
It was so bizarre. Definitely like a Twin Peaks element to it. Really weird 70s like architecture with
Yeah.
like Inception type shit going on. It was really intriguing. It was such a weird game, but it felt right. Like the control was dead on. Um, the scenery with the lighting, with the RTX and all that stuff, really put the game all together. Like it was just really cool. It did slow down because they're still getting used to the DLSS algorithms that they're using for the RTX cards. But once they released 2.0, the game was solid.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was weird, like the gun. It was like sort of organic and not, and it can just sort of
It morphs,
morph,
right?
shift,
Yeah.
and it was really weird, but it was awesome. Like it it felt like another Remedy game in terms of like playing Alan Wake all over again.
Nice.
It felt unique. It was really cool.
I think I loved the like whenever you got a new ability in that game, the way that they teach you how to use the new ability was so cool because it was like they'd put you through a level, they'd like throw you into a level that forced you to use that new ability.
Yep.
So it wasn't like a tutorial. It wasn't like a cheesy video game tutorial. It was like no. Here's a cool. The way they did it was so friggin' awesome. It was like seamless, and it didn't make you feel like you're an idiot, like learning some simple new task. It's like no, it's perfect. This is amazing.
There's that and then the weird level-based puzzles where stuff that you shift around or
Yeah.
use would change aspects in the level. Where you're forced to go through this motel and do different objectives, and it would slightly open up different rooms or it was cool. It was like really well thought out. I could see it frustrating a lot of people, but
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I
I
loved
thought
it.
it was awesome. It was refreshing because I haven't played a game that weird in a long time.
But good at the same time, like well designed and like, and yeah, I know what you mean.
It was the Twin Peaks of games, like
No
waiting for
backwards talking short people.
no log ladies. Very very much a lack of a
Yeah.
log lady.
How about you, Michael? Numero.
So
Numero
yeah,
quattro.
four for me was Mortal Shell. That was
Oh.
that was a game I had no idea if it would be any good. I just knew the lead artist from the game. Like I didn't know him personally, but he's one of my heroes. Like there's this guy, Vitaly Bulgarov. He is the hard surface 3D modeler, like the best in the world probably.
Wow.
And the guy, he worked on Ghost in the Shell, the movie. Like he did the body, like the mech body for the cyborgs. So he's very, very technical, super talented. And I was like, oh my God, he's working on a video game. And, you know, I signed up for their Discord like a year ago or something like that before it was released. And then lo and behold, the game came out like a lot sooner than I thought it was going to. Super soulsy, like very, very Dark Souls. But, you know, they added their own twist to it, like with their shells. There's like 4 different shells that you can find, which are essentially another character you can inhabit.
Yeah.
And they all have different stats, different combat styles. Once I found a particular shell, it made the game like much more tolerable, like difficulty wise. it kind of made things a little easier. So I had a lot more fun with the game at that point. It was not long at all, like 10 hours long.
What, the whole
But,
game?
yeah, but it's not a full price
Holy-
game. I don't think it's a cheaper game.
Okay. I always thought it was. It's a
No, it was like
beautiful
10 or 15
game.
hours or something like that.
It looks really cool. Yeah.
Totally worth playing. If you're a Souls person, then absolutely, there's no reason not to play it.
I'm gonna try it out then, dude. I gotta try it.
Visuals are gorgeous, and
Yeah, it looks awesome. It looks really nice.
it's got just as convoluted and weird a story as Dark Souls. So. But yeah, the combat is really fun.
Awesome.
It was both announced and released this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's super
so.
rare.
Yep.
I was in the official Discord channel for a little while because I was hoping for a beta.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it ever ended up coming out because the game just came out instead. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
How unforgiving is it?
Where does it rank? Like maybe against Dark Souls? Until you get the shell that I'm talking about, it is pretty goddamn hard, actually. But the thing is, like, it's not that punishing for dying. Like, if you keep dying, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's not like Dark Souls 2 where it keeps withering your body or whatever, and making things worse for you every time you die. It's I don't know, man. It's between Dark Souls and Sekiro for difficulty, I'd say. Like Sekiro being the fucking hardest.
Sekiro's. That is a tough game, man.
Dude,
like once I got.
If you know how to parry, you're fine. But I never parry in any game, so.
So yes, I'll learn how to parry.
Dodge roll. That's like all I do.
But you need to learn the proper timing with Sekiro, and that game really opens up once you grab the grappling hook, and then it's like, right, I can actually get through a lot of this. I can avoid half the combat.
Yeah, it would have been on my list, but it wasn't a 2020 game. That's Sekiro. Sorry about the tangent.
You know what was a 2020 game? Actually, a very, very recently released game, which was my number 3, was a little game called Cyberpunk 2077.
Really, that's only
Really?
number 3.
It's number
Making an appearance, eh?
it's number 3. The reason it's not higher, obviously, is because I haven't played. I've played probably enough of it, but the other 2 games I've just had much more fun with. Yeah, the game's just
The other games you play were probably finished games too, right?
well, yeah.
They're complete products. Okay, that's cool.
Yes, exactly. They're not buggy messes. Yeah, I think we could chat about Cyberpunk for like hours just on that one game, but yeah, I don't really think I need to even say anything else about this game. It was my number 3. Richard, how about you? What was your number 3?
Well, unfortunately, I could say a lot about this game, but I don't know if anybody else would appreciate it the way that I would. And that's not as slight or like elitism or anything like that. But my number 3 is Half-Life Alyx.
Oh, you!
I knew you were
fucking
going to say
prick.
that.
Which I respect.
Son of a bitch!
Is something that some people actually have even like protested online as being eligible for Game of the Year, since it's VR only and only people with a VR device can actually experience it. Which, to whom I say, get a fucking VR device, because this is the game that will define what VR is like for the next 10-15 years. This is the game that people are going to be like experiencing now, and then in whatever, like 20-year-olds, and they're going to be like, well, when I was playing Half-Life Alyx, I went ahead and developed the synapse system that was able to shoot shit up your nose and totally fuck with your brain. Like, it's that level of formative in terms of the gaming industry. And I think saying that and experiencing that are 2 different things. So people, like everybody on this call, will hear that and they'll be like, all right, cool, that's good for you. Fuck you, Richard. But the people who maybe happen to listen to this and have actually experienced it are like, yes, that is correct, sir. You are absolutely right, and there's no other way to frame this game. So the only reason it's at number 3, and now you're all going to hate me, the only reason it's at number 3 is because I haven't finished it. So had I finished it, I bet it would have been number one.
You son
But
of a
I'll
bitch.
save what came ahead.
It's such an incredible game that it's number 3 on your list.
So, Richard, would you say, because Half-Life 1 changed gaming, like it definitely
Correct.
absolutely revolutionized for first-person shooters. Is it basically the equivalent of that for VR, you're saying?
I think so.
That much of a leap above anything
Yeah.
that came out before?
It's a completely different way to experience a video game and that's been around for whatever it's been now, like 4 or 5 years, right, in terms of VR. But the level of detail and polish and care and specific VR accoutrements that they've put into this game is at that formative level, right? Like, this is a thing that people will play. Like I said, they're going to reference it. It's going to be a reference material for VR, and that excites me. It's not, the game itself excites me, and I love it, and I will play more. But what really excites me is 5 years from now, the next game that comes out from the people who have played this game and got the ideas from those developers and from Valve, and we're like, hey, what if we did it this way, right? Like, and that's how things start to turn and steamroll. It doesn't happen instantaneously in gaming, right? We all know it takes a long time for games to come to market. That's what this game will do for VR.
Once they find a better movement model that would enable what Alex was able to do in terms of full immersion, I think you'll really start exploring bigger and better games, because that movement model that they had, where it's kind of point move, is still kind of on the cusp of, there's only so many buttons and controls that one person can possibly have in their hand at one moment in time without making it deliberately too difficult to interact with certain things. So until there's either a synaptic glove edition that allows you to kind of say, well, I'm going to move my hand a certain way to pick something up, right? Because there is that especially with VR, there's that essence of, you can have that room kind of feel where you can get up and interact with things, you can bend down, and I don't know if Alex features any of those capabilities, where if you are in a root model, you've got your setups, obviously you've got your perimeter, but you can then bend down. You're obviously capable of doing that with VR. But that movement model is really the one that really I find being the most limiting in terms of overall enjoyment. And in VR is really about a cockpit kind of experience, still primarily in my mind, because of that.
Yeah. So
and
to be absolutely clear, I tried the I guess the natural movement model for about 8 seconds, and I almost puked. So my opinion is based on the teleport model within that game,
Yeah.
right? And that's, that should still be a testament. And I know at least one other person who has played it using the proper movement model, and they've clocked easily 100 or 200 more hours in VR than I have. So, like, it takes time to be comfortable with that level of movement, brain body disconnect. And I basically did like super hard VR. I did a couple other things, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to Alex. And like, my body couldn't take it. Like, I was unable to process what was happening. And still, what they've done with the environment, what they've done with the mechanics, the way that they've made you feel comfortable, to no matter what your movement model is that is the testament for VR for me. It's so the fact that people can play it in that natural movement model, that's phenomenal, and I think that is its own achievement. The achievement for me was the actual piece of media.
Well, and it's funny because we talk about, for my standpoint, I like simulation, I like space simulators, and that brings me into my number 3, which is the Star Wars Squadrons. Again, I didn't play a lot of games this year, but I mean, quite honestly, that experience. Yeah, well, it's fine. I think you enter the realm of what fanboyism really is entitled to when it comes to a space simulation, space fighter, and nothing really beats Star Wars that way. And it's really a shame that there isn't better VR experiences that are available to a lower demographic for them to experience it, because Star Wars doesn't have to be high fidelity for people to enjoy it. Like the inside of these starfighters is modeled kind of after the 1978 or the 79 movie release, 1980s. I mean, it's kind of low detail, not high in terms of its digital kind of representation. So it doesn't have to be high fidelity for you to really enjoy being in a space fighter, being able to move around and having that headset. And I think for me, I am such a big X-wing TIE fighter, from the back in the old PC days.
Yep.
And so that to me was a really good, hey, this is something that everybody from that generation is really going to enjoy. It was a cheaper game. It wasn't like a fully fledged out, even though there was a single player campaign. I really didn't do anything with it. I jumped in there, and it just became one of those games that you could play for like 20 minutes, half an hour, and feel okay about turning off afterwards. And to me, in my lifestyle right now, that's more meaningful than it is to get locked in a game like Ghost of Tsushima, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And again, like Cyberpunk, you feel committed to clocking in those extended hours to get more out of it. Star Wars didn't need that of me, and I was happy to give it to it.
I was immediately thrusted into that nostalgia of TIE Fighter with Squadrons. Like it totally brought back like here's the learning curve that you had to go through with TIE Fighter, but it was much more streamlined with the Squadrons. It was a little bit easier than having to learn all of these other nuanced pieces that you had to do with TIE Fighter. So
I will, and you know what, nuances aside, and I'll end that really quickly. My only complaint was that you couldn't get as customized with the controller as I probably would have preferred. That you couldn't do shift button presses in order to accommodate a more versatile experience. Other games I've played have done better with the control scheme, but I heard the latest update has actually addressed that, where they've extended some of the management of the button configuration. So
nice.
I'm gonna try that again.
They added new ships as well, from what I saw.
Yeah.
Too.
And they were pretty vehemently saying like, no, we're not doing anything extra, no DLC, nothing. I'm like, but you are. You're adding stuff, which is cool, but okay. The game must have done quite a bit better than they were expecting, because like
It did very well.
Yeah. Well, it was a cheap game too. Well, relatively cheap.
$40, right?
It was the right time for release. I think it was in September, right? Like it was.
There was nothing else like it at all, and Mandalorian was like getting popular again.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan.
What number are we on? We're number 3.
That's right.
3.
3. Oh, 3's Cyberpunk.
All right, Mark.
There's nothing else to say, man. There's nothing else to say. I'm like, I've sunk a lot of hours in it.
No one's ever talked anything about it. No one's talked about
How many hours are you in on that?
I honestly, I have to look to see how many is there. But Act 2?
Nice.
Is it Act 2? How many acts are there?
I don't even know. I actually don't even know. I think
3
I'm
or 4. I can't remember.
Yeah, so I know I'm in Act 2, and that's the last I remember.
Cool.
So I'm assuming at least 30 to 40 hours in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Mark.
Oh, so my number 3 is Streets of Rage 4.
Oh, nice.
That's a good one, man. It's a good pick.
Although when we tried it on the PC, Dan and I tried to connect together, it wouldn't work. I've had more success on the Xbox One, and that's where I played and finished it. So,
that's what we gotta do, John. Yeah, it's so much.
It's such a good old school throwback with all the modern with the modern sensibility. Like the graphics are really nicely animated. The music is pretty close to 2. I don't think they'll ever top number 2 for music.
Yeah.
I was totally thrown into Final Fight when I was playing. I was like, oh, I missed this.
Memories of
It's these beat 'em ups, right?
Oh,
totally.
And then you can unlock a whole bunch of shit like the 16-bit versions of characters from the different versions of the game. So Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, like Blaze or Axel. It is a really good game, and secrets here or there. The story is cheesy, but in a good way.
You don't play those
As it
games
should
for
be.
stories.
Exactly. I just wanted to beat the crap out of people and throw them off roofs, right? Like,
Exactly.
So,
Rip and tear, buddy. Rip and tear.
Okay, we got the name for the episode, I guess.
John and his ripping and tearing.
360 Ti.
30.
Ti rip and tear.
Be that RTX right there.
RTX
give me
rip and tear,
that,
buddy.
Give me that RTX.
RTX is for rip and tear, right?
Yeah. Rip and tear to the extreme.
So,
Perfect.
yeah, that's my number 3.
Nice.
Good
How
one.
about you, Michael?
My number 3 is Astro's Playroom, which I had the chance to play thanks to Nick hooking me up with the PS5.
Oh, you got one from Nick? Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that rocketed all the way up to number 3 for me because it was just such a crazy display of what that controller can do for that console. Holy shit!
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was blown away. Every single aspect of that game touched every piece of performance with the controller as well as with the system. It's good.
Yeah, man. The visuals are nice too. Like very, very, very Pixar looking, I guess. Like there's no aliasing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely 4K, obviously. I think it's 60 frames a second. It's friggin' gorgeous. Lighting's really nice. But man, it's just the controls just really just. I cannot wait to see what they do with that DualSense on other games, and I really hope it's not the kind of thing where developers don't use the variable pressure triggers. Like I hope that gets used, and at the very least, I hope the rumble gets used because it's like the coolest rumble I felt in a controller.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Like the Switch is cool. Like they have great rumble, but man, this is like next level.
That was the thing. Like you step in that game, and it feels like there's footsteps underneath your controller.
It's
Like it's really
incredible.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
yeah.
actually like them. I like the speaker in the controller too. Like it actually sounds
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It's not terrible tinny. Like, but I think the DualShock 4 had a mic in it, or maybe it was the DualShock 3.
Not
but
DualShock
whichever.
4. Yeah, DualShock 4 had a speaker in it too.
But I would always turn that off because it was just so jarring and annoying. But this one was perfect. I was just like, holy shit! Like this is really adding something.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, way to go, Sony. Like, it's like the most revolutionary thing of the entire next gen, and it's a controller. It's kind of crazy.
Let the statement stand on kind of with everybody. Like my wife does not play video games, generally speaking, has played, Mario and stuff in her lifetime, but we just finished a movie and I think I had already had Astro's Playroom opened up, so I switched over to it and I was like, here, take the controller and try this. And she was she was actually playing with it. She's like, whoa, my God. Like that reaction of like, whoa, that's incredible. Like that's what that controller is able to bring. Like that tactile feeling of the video game.
Mm-hmm.
That's something, again, it's going to be formative. Like I really do think they have something special with that controller. And I'm with you. I
If
hope
games
they use it.
utilize that, then whatever the power is under the hood, I still think Sony could win this generation because of that controller alone. Like as long as
Yeah.
it gets used well enough and it adds
Yes.
something to the experience.
New Uncharted with some climbing physics like a monkey.
You
God
gotta
of
bal-
War,
gotta
where you feel the
balance
axe
against
come
it.
back and it like
That
One
would
out of
be.
control.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Oh, yeah,
Hell,
that
they
would be
could do
great.
that. They could do that for the PS4 game. They could
Yeah,
put in like a
I'd-
patch or whatever for that.
Or Harvest Moon milking those cows, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what everyone's waiting for.
well, that's what it was designed for, obviously.
That's
Yeah.
all it was done.
We're talking.
Yeah.
Funny thing you mentioned Astro's Playroom is because Jesus, Richard's doing the teat milking. Yeah, so Astro's Playroom was actually my number 2, which is kind of funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've already gone over this a million times, but like it's literally the only PlayStation game I've ever platinumed. Like I played the living crap out of it for I think about a week straight. Like every single night I would play for 2, maybe 3 hours.
Did you get Tiff in to try it out a little bit?
She did try. Like she's definitely got like a what do you call it? Like she I don't know. She understands games. She's like she has a thing. Like she understands why people like them, and she's not against them by any means, but she's not really into them either. It's like she's I don't know. She did try it, and she's like, yeah, that's really really cool. And, like that's about as far as it went. I was like, but you gotta feel this, and she's like, yeah, I get it, it's cool.
Yeah.
But holy shit, man, I was just absolutely blown away. Like the one really really cool. Oh, there's a million cool things about this game, but the coolest thing was the museum of PlayStation memorabilia.
That was
And
awesome.
like the fact that you could like go up to each little piece and like interact with them.
Yeah.
And like as soon as I jumped on the PlayStation 1 eject button and it flung one of the little dudes off of it, I was like, this is the best thing ever. This is so cool. I'm like, how the hell would they think of this shit? This is insane. Like it's so detailed.
Every single item too, like
Yeah,
those
everything does
scaled
something.
items.
Yeah.
So if you press the eject button on the PS2, it pops out the way it should. It was really well done.
And like even just getting the like the little gotcha balls or whatever they're called, like the
Yep.
things out of the
and just
machine,
crushing them.
like crushing them. I was like, this is insane. Like I've never felt anything like that before with the controller.
Yep.
Like you can feel your robot hand crushing something. Like Jesus Christ, this is absolutely insane. So that's easily my number 2. It was such a friggin' fun game, and like I still think about it all the time. And it doesn't hurt that I played and finished the VR Astro as well, which was also absolutely incredible. And if anyone has a PSVR or ever wants to play that game, it's absolutely incredible. And I'd say it's like maybe 2-3 times as big as Astro's Playroom. Like it's a massive, really really good third-person action adventure game, like a Mario kind of game.
It's a full platform game, right?
It's like a 20-hour, 25-hour game. It's absolutely amazing the entire time though. So, but yeah. Anyways, that was my number 2.
Numero deux.
Dude,
The French
dude.
drop a deuce on you.
Drop us a deuce.
I'm gonna drop a deuce on y'all. Again, this is another one I don't think anybody else is gonna have on their list. Deep Rock Galactic.
Oh baby.
Let me tell you the story of Deep Rock Galactic.
Everyone
I
get
happened to come across
get
it
comfortable.
on a game forum or something that I frequent. And I've got some buddies. I got one buddy in Texas. I got another buddy in California, and we used to play a ton of games together. And then they fucked off from Canada and they moved to those respective states. And I laugh at them every day for it. But I was hunting for that game that would kind of bring us back together and give us that opportunity to play something together. And my God, like I don't know if it's the combination again of 2020 plus the perfect formula of just like here's something you can bang out in 20 to 45 minutes, depending on the level of difficulty. There was a really great progression system. This game, we got in, relatively late in the early access cycle. I think we got in February or so, and or maybe it was March or so, and we just kind of carried it through to the 1.0 release. The content itself, the gameplay loop is phenomenal.
Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know, you're a bunch of space dwarves jumping into asteroids and mining the shit out of them while fighting off the native inhabitants, who are basically like space spiders. And which sounds like a really simple concept, but throw in these really cool biomes that they've built out and the mechanics of those biomes, the different mission types and that variability, and then the procedural generation of those caves. Like it is infinitely replayable. So the only reason we fell off of it was because we went on to other games because we wanted to take breaks but we still do come back to it relatively often. I think well deserved in terms of a top spot on my list this year.
Yeah, it was a really fun game. Like you got me into it, Richard. Yeah, you got me into it, Richard. It was like it's so much fun. Like you never see the same level twice, which I thought was pretty amazing. It's like you get plopped in, you're like, what the fuck? You look around, you're like, there's just red jagged crystals everywhere. What the hell's going on? And then the next one is just like, yellow mud with like just one big flat plane or like one massive open area. It's so much fun. And it's really easy to get into as well. Like I knew what I was doing. You took I think 5 minutes to tell me how to do everything in the game. And I was like, okay, I get it. And then like we were doing missions right away. It's super easy to get into.
It kind of reminds me of a little bit of what No Man's Sky did with some of the terrain deformation
Yeah.
and collection of material. I mean, there's a lot of different genres that I feel like I've seen videos of it because you were playing it a lot, and I was kind of like, all right, do I want to get into a game like this? And I do kind of enjoy these kind of games where you do have that exploration. And Jesus, cat, get your ass out of my face. Um,
Kat is
Kitty, kitty,
Nick's
bum, bum.
wife's name.
Not gonna touch that one. Yeah. But looking back at, even with Grounded as well, I think that while
forgot about Grounded.
Deep Rock kind of is more polished, obviously, I'm looking forward to a game like that, or with Grounded afterwards. That kind of gives that more exploratory action. But if you're done your number two, are you done your number two? I'll segue into mine. And you know what? I kind of debated just now talking about these two games, and while Cyberpunk and Ghost of Tsushima kind of are like my 1 and 2, I think it's order. And I think Ghost is going to just take my number 2 only because I've really not invested a lot of time in my story play. And further to our conversation earlier in the broadcast was, we played an extraordinary amount of the horde mode, the multiplayer Legends. Yeah, the
Is
survival.
it Legends? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Or
Legends.
was Legends like the whole package, like the
Legends-
DLC downloader?
Yeah, Legends
trying
is
to
the
remember what
multiplayer package, and then the game
Yeah.
mode that we've been played is survival, and then there's the other, which is the story mode. Which
That's
is the
okay.
co-op
Okay,
story.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember.
So I mean, I think my number 2 is more about the online component of the game more than it is the single player. The single player to me, and you may hate it, you may not. I relate it way too much to Red Dead. Don't get me wrong, beautiful game, like absolutely outstanding achievement of what they've been able to accomplish with HDR, with terrain, with just the texturing and everything else. Great game, but it's really just a testament to how pretty you can make something, but it just has too much in terms of similarity to Red Dead, and I fell out of Red Dead primarily because I just couldn't, I didn't relate to it. Like it was like a cowboy simulator, and this one's more like a samurai simulator, and I've found more enjoyment out of the anxiety driving factor that is the online component. And whether it's the 2-player co-op story, or if it's doing like a gold level, it turns into you really only are protecting these 4 locations, but it's chaotic. And the randomness of what enemies you're going to be getting, and do you have the right equipment, and level progressing is really not even a factor. It's just about like, do you have the proper weaponry that's going to help you survive, and do you have the right combination of 3 other people that are going to help cover your ass if you're going to die a lot. Because when we first started playing it, it was just like, we're playing on bronze, and we were happy if we made it to half of the waves. Like, forget about even completing the waves. It was just like, how far into it were we able to get, and just being content with that. To the point where now it's just kind of like, oh, it's over. I didn't even realize it, and that's a gold. Now, mind you, I did try doing Nightmare, and that is a different ball of wax, because holy crap. But yeah, that's not my number 2.
It'd be beast mode.
Beast mode.
The beast.
How about you, Jonathan?
My number 2 is Doom Eternal.
Oh, baby.
Oh, rip and tear.
Rip and tear to the extreme.
Rip and tear. Rip and tear. It's not. Okay, so the fun factors of this game are just through the roof for me, because you're unstoppable killing machine that uses a full arsenal just to like chop through all sorts of different monsters that are in your way, and you have somehow turned from that slayer from hell into this now new guardian that's protecting Earth from all those like gates of hell that you've opened up right in the past. So it's
the least he can do.
It's the least he can do, right? Gotta get some kind of like redemption out of that whole thing. I did like how they do walk you through a lot of the Slayer's history, like how he became a Slayer, how he had to be in the gladiator pits and all that. So you get to see more of how he became who he is, the Slayer that he is today. And then I love how they introduced the Crucible Blade. So you can pick up these different shards, and they give you a certain number of whacks that you can do with the Crucible Blade. So you can slice and dice, rip and tear, all you want.
The Slayer's name is Mr. Guy, right? His
Yeah,
first name Doom, last name Guy.
Guy.
Is that...
Yep, that's what they call him, Doom Guy.
Oh, fuck
Middle
off. Is
name
it? Is that
Danger.
actually his name?
Yeah, no, I did like.
Because I just call him Slayer.
No, they all call him the Slayer, and then everyone calls him Doom Guy, right?
Doom guy.
That's actually really funny.
So building up your character so they can
Doom
survive
Guy.
the onslaught that you're going up against has been pretty fantastic too. You have to go and you can collect a certain number of, like there's the arsenal that you get, but there's also like the items that you get to build up your suit, and then you can go and you collect different renditions of your suit. So like you can have like the Mars suit, you can have the old school like 8-bit suit. It's pretty neat, man.
Ooh,
Nick, sorry,
nice,
sorry
Nick.
to interrupt. Nick, your reaction to that first sip was incredible.
I didn't see it. Was it of disgust or was it of? Yeah. Someone just blew up my skirt. Woo!
Oh, it was good. It was good. I was looking at everybody else and it was just like,
Nice.
I take it you like it, Nick.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's for a 5.7. It's not really strong. It's Hazy Town Juice Bomb IPA by Amsterdam. And,
Did you get-
for the
Did you get that in the holiday pack? They've got like a 4-pack that's out now.
no. So I was at the my local grocery, and they've got a pretty fantastic beer selection. And so I
Nice.
saw this and I thought I'd try it. But for those of you that don't know, I had a buddy that used to work in a variety of beer
Yeah.
positions, and he held a position at Amsterdam as one of their delivery guys. And one fateful night over at Dan's, we showed up with like 6 or 7 2-4s.
More than that, man.
Oh yeah, it was a lot.
good.
I
It
still
was
have
a
I
lot.
still have a picture somewhere. It was taller than Andy. That's how much
Not
beer
saying
there was,
much,
and
but,
it was
you know,
exactly. But it was like it was tall. It was 2-4s, but of tall cans.
We drank a lot of raspberry beer that night. I remember.
Yeah, raspberry
you know,
wheat.
that-
Raspberry wheat. I started to enjoy raspberry wheat near the end of that because I was kind of forced to. And now I actually like it. Now I actually legitimately like it.
Of course, the irony of that is that it was really skunky. Like it had like a
Oh,
really
yeah.
wet dog's kind of taste to it until really I think the end of the evening where everybody was just kind of like, this doesn't this.
Yeah,
this
who
is
gives
not
a
so bad
shit? Who
anymore.
gives a shit? We're all drunk anyways. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he left it sitting next to a furnace for like about 6 months before he gave it to us.
Well,
Some
keep
of
in
the
mind that-
cans were rusty. I'm like, I don't think a can's supposed to be rusty, but oh well. Crack.
Well, keep in mind that they had an allocation of how many different beers they were allowed to have, and if any of the cans were dented, they actually were not meant to give that to a vendor, right? So they
Yeah.
got to keep that for themselves. Whether or not that meant that he unintentionally damaged some of these in order to, I wouldn't put it past him. Nice guy.
Knock a can onto the floor. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
scratch
yeah.
and dent beer.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah.
Scratch and dent, rip and tear.
Oh, there you go.
There's the
Alright.
connection.
And then, right, to finish up,
Yes.
the last boss in Doom Eternal is pretty insane.
Is
It's a
it the
it's a
big
nice
guy
big
with
battle.
the one eye? The big guy with the one eye.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
So
Fuck, I can't remember his name though.
I was hoping that
Goggle.
really hoping that you get in one of those giant guardian mechs to fight off this giant demon, but that didn't happen. What I was looking forward to, but I haven't had a chance to play yet, is the Ancient Gods Part 1, which is the new DLC that dropped in October.
Yeah.
And that's it for my number 2.
I can't play Doom Eternal without like my heart almost exploding because it's like so friggin' fast paced. I
very
did play it for maybe 3 or 4 hours or so, and I did really enjoy what I was playing. But after I'd play it for like 30, 40 minute spurts. I was like, I can't. Fuck, this is too much. I can't do this. It's like it's a really good game, but I'm like, it's so stressful playing. And at the time when it came out, I needed something to unwind and relax. I was like, this doesn't do it. This just like ramps it up. I'm like, I'm already on the edge. I don't need this.
Animal Crossing for you, rip and tear for me. All right.
Yeah, you can rip and tear all you want, Jen.
I know. Now I'm ready for some rip and tear. Like, fuck you, 2020. I'm ready to rip and tear. But, like, you know.
Yeah, Jan 1, 2021. It's time for some
my
rip and
island
tearing.
is full of weeds and shit right now.
Set it on fire. Set your Animal Crossing island on fire.
I have no idea what's happening there right
Fuck
now.
you.
Really,
Fuck you,
come
Mr.
back
whatever his
like,
face is.
Managing Electronics, where have you been? It's like, well, pew, 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 pew. Rip and tear. And
Rip and tear. Here's
There
your
were so
bells.
many crossover memes. It was hilarious, dude.
yeah, there were some really good ones. Yeah.
And Doom guy, yeah.
Marcus.
So my number 2 is Hades.
Oh,
Finally,
nice.
those 80s.
Game was
Fucking
phenomenal.
cool game. It's an amazing game.
Such a good top-down action adventure hack and slash RPG. Everything about it, the characters, the graphics, it's dead on. Like, it's probably would have been my number 1 if there wasn't another game that we don't talk about at all or play or anything like that. It's beautiful. It's just damn good. I hope they add more to it, like maybe like an expansion or.
It would have been on my
something.
list if I'd played more. Like it was, I've played it for one night. That's it. But I did play it for like 3 hours straight, and
You played
like it was like it was amazing. What's that, Richard?
For life, I think, for you, right?
Yeah, yes, I think I did. And I was like, oh, I'll set aside an hour for this. Like 3 hours later, I was like, shit, I should probably play something else. Yeah, it's a beautiful game. Like it's insane, and it's so the story. I didn't expect to like the story so much in it, and like the voice acting's incredible.
Oh,
I was like, what the hell is going? But then you look at who made it, you're like, oh yeah, Supergiant. Never mind. Like Bastion was one of my favorite games, like I think I've ever played.
Great.
Bastion's absolutely incredible, and like one of the reasons that I loved it so much was because of the narrator, who sounds like Ron Perlman. But anyways, it's like it sounds so it's so good. It's so good. Anyways, yeah.
And you get to pet 3-headed dog.
Yes,
So.
that was the first thing I did.
Good
Michael.
reason on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So number two is Last of Us 2 for me.
Oh shit.
I almost picked that for you too. Yep.
I'm not going to go in crazy detail because I feel like it's going to get mentioned again. I have an inkling, but just as a 3D artist myself, like just walking through that world was ridiculously inspiring and one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. I think the only game that really trumps that for visuals would be probably God of War. I think that one might take the cake a little bit, just because of like just final polish or whatever. But I just loaded it up on the PS5 recently on my new TV. I downloaded Last of Us 2 and just so I could look at it for 15 minutes, and man, it's jaw dropping. Like what a beautiful game. I won't get into the story or anything like that, but I was very satisfied when I got through it, and I think the length of the game was absolutely perfect. It wasn't crazy long or anything like that, but I certainly feel like I got my money's worth.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like for such a cinematic experience like that, that's perfect for me. And it was all about the story, really, and the visuals, in my opinion, not collectibles or any of that crap. So, yes, that is my opinion on Last of Us 2, and it holds firmly second spot for me.
Yeah, like on a technical standpoint, it's just insane. Like I don't know if there's, like I was listening to another podcast the other day, and they were like, one guy just simply said he's like, this is on a PS4. It's like, keep in mind, like, this game's running on a PS4. I'm like, holy shit, you're right, actually.
As well,
it's like you're right. This is just on a like when you look at games
PS4
that are.
Is how I played it.
PS4 Pro.
I played it on a base PS4 on a 1080p screen.
And the
So I
fact
didn't
that
get
it
to see
still
it in
looks
its full
good.
glory, but I still thought it was one of the best looking games I've ever seen.
Yeah. Fuck, that's crazy.
Art direction, man.
Oh yeah, it's just Naughty Dog's like they're on another level.
To be continued.
So my favorite game of the year, which I kept going back to constantly, and I fucking loved every minute of it, was Ori and the Will of the Wisps for
Ooh.
Nice.
Xbox.
You're gonna say Ding
Xbox
Dong.
One. Ding Dong XL. Yeah, you know what? Fuck Ori. It's Ding Dong XL, everybody.
Ding dong!
Ding Dong XL. Did it. Yeah, Ori and the Will of the Wisps was just fucking amazing. It was absolutely amazing. The
100.
entire time I played it was just incredible.
That
100
also released right around quarantine, right? In March. That was like also. I think it was the same week.
Yeah,
or
you
so
know
as-
what? It was everything was going nuts. No one knew what the hell was going on, and then this fucking beautiful game that's just like super relaxing and like, but at the same time, the story. There's some parts that aren't relaxing, sure, but like, just the music. The music was just phenomenal. It's probably the best
So good.
soundtrack that I've heard in a long time for a video game. But goddamn, like it. There was so much like emotion and shit that you saw with characters when they didn't even speak. Like the little owl guy. I'm like, oh my god, this is like the animation is just ridiculous.
It's incredible.
And like the big ass frog was like, whenever he talked, I was like, this is so cool. And then you eventually see him like jump out of the way. I'm like, my jaw was just dropping the whole time playing that game. And it's just a 2D platformer. I'm like, what?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
But like every
Absolutely.
moment of that game, like if anyone hasn't played it, you have to play it, and you don't have to play the first one at all to understand anything that's going on. In fact, like I did like the first one, and I think I ended up beating it, but it's the second one's so much better in almost every single way.
I've never even touched the first one.
Yeah.
And I got full enjoyment out of the second one.
The save system in the first game was really, really neat. I didn't like it, but it was really, really different. I won't get into it, but the second one definitely makes more sense, and it's more of like a game that's focused on the story and like the combat than some weird little gimmick like the first one was. It was cool, but it was the second one, like every aspect of the second one's better than the first. So yeah. And like the whole cross play, like I would play on the PC. Then if like the wife was not on the TV, I'd be like, all right, I can go play on the couch now. So I'd hop over there, sync the game up. Boom, I'm playing on the Xbox.
I need to do
Vice
that.
versa,
and
vice versa. I'm like, this is absolutely perfect. So yeah,
That's how I gotta sync it so it's cross-play so I can play it on my PC. Well,
it's
dude,
it's
no, you
amazing.
gotta-
It's
you gotta-
perfect.
You can play it on your Series X on the 120 FPS on your CX.
Yes, John.
and then and then those times when I can't do that, I've got the
Sure. Yeah.
3060 Ti.
See, this supports my standing that you should have bought a 65 and a 77, John.
65 for his computer, right? 65 for the computer monitor.
Right here.
Don't want them too big,
you
right?
I don't know.
There's nothing
What's
wrong
our
Did
with
it
that.
all wrong.
Dan, what's
All
that?
wrong.
30.
inches?
Oh, that's a good question, Richard. I actually don't
This is
know.
big.
32 or 34?
Way too big. I couldn't imagine a 65-inch monitor. People were talking about using the 48-inch CX for their computer monitor. I'm just like, where are you fucking sitting?
They are, and that's insane.
Yeah,
I can't believe that.
Too much.
So number one? Are we on number one? My number
Yeah,
one?
man.
Crack. Where's Andy? I want to have it out with Andy. on
Oh,
this
now
one.
I know what it is. I haven't looked at anyone's list, so I don't know. But now that Andy's involved, I know what game it is.
So it's Last of Us 2. And for all of the reasons Mike mentioned and more. So yeah, Last of Us 1 was my game of the year back in whatever that was, 2013 or so when that came out.
Incredible.
And this is my game of the year this year, and I have a myriad of reasons why. The art was phenomenal. I started playing this game on a PS4 Pro. I finished playing it on my PS5, so let that tell you everything you need to know about how long it takes me to finish games. But I absolutely just digested this game slowly, meticulously over the course of months, like 2-3 hour sessions every weekend when I had the time to actually go through it. it was episodically almost like that was the best way for me to actually experience the story, the characters, the progression. Um, I I devoured everything about this game, and I thoroughly thought that it was a better installment for this series and for Naughty Dog than anything that they've done previously. And that's taking into account their whole catalog and everything that I've loved about what they have done as a studio up until Last of Us 2. So I get that, and I'm poor Andy is not here to defend himself. Like there were a lot of not spoilers, but there was a lot of content that was released before the game in terms of the story and stuff, and some people engaged in that, some people didn't. I kept completely in the dark on that front.
Yeah,
And
same here.
I'm not saying that style is entirely owing to my enjoyment of the game, but I think there are still, while some people are like constantly trying to think of, okay, what does this mean for the story? What does this mean for the story? I'm not one of those people, and I think I'm better off for having experienced the story that way, both in terms of not having experienced anything about the story beforehand, but then also in terms of my own style of consuming content, which is I'm just especially for this kind of content, I'm just gonna turn off my brain and let this shit happen to me. Like
Yeah,
it's a
be told the story, right? That's how I played it.
cinematic.
I'm like, I don't care about dissecting everything, every little thing. I'm like, there's
I'm
a story
guessing.
that they wrote and they're telling it to me. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, especially for interactive entertainment. Like I get doing that in movies where you're kind of passively consuming the content, but for
Sure.
interactive entertainment, like my brain has other things to focus on, right? And when I'm not focusing necessarily on those things, I'm focusing on other things that they have kind of woven into the environment or the story or the characters that I can focus on instead.
Hmm.
It's really funny because I haven't even played the first one, and I've heard so many good things about it, and I'm really just going to wait for the PS5 Pro, the miniature edition that will fit into my media cabinet before, and maybe by then they'll have a remaster of the first one that I can then consume. Yeah, it is on my list. After I'm done with Cyberpunk, or it's done with me, or vice versa, I do have a backlog of games, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to. I'm scared to get involved emotionally into another game. That I am habitual into binging, and I don't tend to play a game to play another game. Like those days were the 360 days where I was burning a lot of discs, and I would play a game for like 5 minutes and then say, "Oh, great," and it would go on another pile. I'm much more invested with my time these days, and if you're not done talking about this, I can talk about my number one.
Yes, go for it.
My number one, controversial or not, Cyberpunk. I think this one ticks off all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
Love it or hate it, and a lot of people hate it. I initially thought that I picked up the wrong platform when I got the SX instead of the PS5, and then Cyberpunk came out and it worked much better on the SX than it did, with exception to PC. PC Master Race Mike over there, and Richard and Dan and John and everybody else but me.
Hey, I'm playing on Series X. I'm playing on Series X.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
also playing a plebe. Dan's definitely a plebe as well.
Yep.
yeah.
Happy to be a plebe.
At the end of the day, and we could beat this horse dead, but for me, it encapsulates all of the genres that I really enjoy. Borderlands, some of the stealth is good. The verticality of the city, the architecture, the game design, like all of these are major achievements for a game that, while not fully optimized, also considering that the game has been delayed, but they're also trying to extend it across a multitude of platforms that maybe it really shouldn't have been. And as a result, whether it was watered down or not really focused on the performance or whatever the case is, I think that this game has the ability, much like GTA, to really have an extended shelf life because of the type of genre it encompasses. That there's so many different micro stories, and the storytelling is so diverse in the game that you really have the ability to build on top of that. And they haven't even announced the online. But my fear about the online is that it's going to be just watered down content that would be like single player oriented. Whereas the beginning of the game where you had your secondary guy, it really introduced the ability to say, hey, why don't we have 2-player co-op in something like this? So maybe this is a good segue into supporting that kind of gameplay characteristic or mechanic, I guess. Yeah, I can't. Every time I play the game, 4 hours manages to disappear quite easily.
Like a fart in the wind, man, just gone.
And quite honestly, I think I've only done 3 or 4 of the main missions.
You and Trav, it's hilarious.
I think it was like 25. I looked at it and I was 25 hours in before I saw the main screen.
Holy crap!
Same.
Yeah. So
I think I did 15 hours. 15
I
hours
play the
before I
game
saw
like
me.
Trav. It's kind of like, hey, I want to drive over here, or I want to drive over there. Yeah, you
Squirrel,
can keep
squirrel.
waiting at the side of the road until I will decide.
Yep.
You know, the game is not without its own issues. I mean, nobody's going to not admit that. But I think once they've ironed out, especially on the next performance improvements over January and February, when those next 2 big releases are going to be,
Yeah.
you know, like my machine shut down on me the other day, and then it rebooted, and I don't know what it was, but my performance, everything was smoother afterwards, and maybe it was just the game needing to reboot.
Forced
Maybe it's
update or
just
something.
my own perception of it, but it was just like, even on a console, on an older 4K set, still with HDR, the game is beautiful. Like, they've done a really good job for a platform, for a game that really was not meant to be released on the next gen console. It feels as though it should have been, and it feels as though that's the right place for it. And I think looking at what they've been able to not do on the base platforms, but games like Last of Us have been able to do, I think those are just architecturally different games, and it's difficult to draw parallels between these 2 games in terms of technical achievement, in terms of look and feel versus open world-esque, right? But yeah, that's going to be my number 1, and this game is not done with me. And Mike, what, you're at like 60 hours or something stupid like that?
Steam is wrong. Like it was like saying that my time in the menu, like the when I walked away when it's loaded, you know how it's got a splash screen? Well, you don't know.
Yeah.
PC users, there's a splash screen. That's the red loader, whatever. I'm 45 hours in. Like I'm about 45 hours in.
Okay.
Yeah, the last time I checked, I think it was 3:00 this morning. The last time I shut it down, in the morning, mind you, not PM. And that's why I've been sleeping in until 10 in the morning.
I'm doing the same thing, Nick. I'm playing until 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning as well.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, I go on a mission and I pass a bunch of these, like, hey, there's an assault in progress, and I'm like, I don't care that there's skulls. There's skulls above these people's heads. I can't shoot them because I'll die, but if I drive a car into them, they'll die. And so I found that that's a really good technique.
That's very creative.
Characters that are well beyond my character scope of like
Can't they kill you,
bullet
though?
sponges is an understatement for this game. Like there's only so many bullets you can pump into somebody.
So Nick's discovered the Carmageddon build in Cyberpunk. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a game they need to bring back.
Overheat like 5 times in a row on the same guy.
Nick, your number 1 spot, absolutely no shame there, dude. Like, I know I've thrown a little bit of shade at that game, but I think if I had have digested it and had a chance to play it in 2 months, 3 months from now, I bet you it would be my number 1. It probably would be. That's my prediction.
I live and breathe that kind of cultural aspect of, like, I'm really big into Ghost in the Shell. I'm really big into cyberware, you know, the whole idea, because I mean, some of the backstory with Johnny Silverhand, it starts in like 2023. And I look at it, I'm like, well, that's 3 years from now that we're supposed to have cybernetic replacements. And I'm like, can it not happen soon enough? But yet we still don't have hoverboards from like, well,
cybernetic replace. Like,
yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Good point. Yeah. Good point. Luke hands do exist, just not to the same extent that this game is popularized. Yeah. But then again, I also stop and say, well, we still haven't perfected a hoverboard yet from Back to the Future 2. So you know, let's let's tick the right things in order first, because I'd
Priorities,
rather a
yeah.
hoverboard first than a replacement arm.
I don't want a replacement arm right now. I just want to be able to hoverboard everywhere.
I'd
There
like
you
a
go.
flying car would be kind of cool. I
But
don't know.
if you have an accident, you'll want to have a cybernetic hand after.
Sure.
That works.
Well,
After I have a
but
hoverboard.
hoverboard would be pretty sweet though. You could live with a stump. You can't live without a hoverboard.
Nick, totally with you on the genre as a whole. Like, not the game cyberpunk, but the cyberpunk as a cultural phenomenon and as
Oh yeah.
a movement. Like, absolutely, I've been a fan for a very long time as well. So,
Well, with you
completely-
and Alita, right? So I mean, like it kind of blends that a little bit. I mean, Alita is I think you know, and we can go kind of off the rails here. So I mean, like I'm good, John. You should probably take over. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah,
just
we
gonna keep
we gotta
going.
stop talking about cyberpunk.
Well, the
Not your fault, Nick.
I'm just waiting for Neuralink to be, go through its hurdles, Elon, and then we actually get into this cyberpunk kind of world where we can have engrams placed on chips, where we can have another consciousness embedded in our minds.
John, you're not taking it off. You're continuing the off the rails here. Let's yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm waiting.
There's that new movie called Free Guy that's coming out, or maybe it's released. I don't even know movie wise what's happening
Yeah,
anymore.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
What happens when an AI character goes,
Rogue.
develops, kind of rogue, right? And puts on the glasses that the
Delman.
yeah, really, right?
Delman.
Like, hey, listen, you want to talk about cybernetic implants? Like, listen, drop me into the world of GTA where there's less consequence and more freedom. I'm okay with that.
Is anyone reading or listening to Ready Player 2?
I heard it's not
I've heard mixed
great.
things about it.
It's good.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
I've been enjoying it.
So it's got mixed reviews. Everywhere I see it's got mixed reviews, and so it's been one of the books that's like on my to-read list over the holidays.
Yeah.
I have like 2 other thick books that I have to get through. Kind of when I'll be done within the first.
I'm doing Audible for it. Like I won't spoil anything, but they've done a really good job of progressing some of those like VR concepts from the first book.
So I heard it was kind of like a copy paste in terms of template, but a refresher on content.
Sure.
Okay.
So far, I'm like 2 hours into the Audible book. It's Will Wheaton, so he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I heard he's doing a pretty good job there.
I've got about
Wheaton,
4 or 5
Wheaton.
Dune books still in line. I've literally started from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm about 15 books in now for Audible. Yeah, and I've got all the paperbacks that I've read, but listening to it is a very different experience.
I'm literally reading the first Dune book right now in anticipation.
Have you ever read it before? It pales in comparison to the extended story.
Okay.
Although the writing is different from Frank Herbert to his son,
Okay.
but honestly, like Dune, like if you've seen the movie and you've read the book and you go, this is interesting, definitely read some of the other extended universe. Like it is so fluid. It is remarkable.
Speaking of
This guy,
sci-fi,
Frank Herbert's.
Speaking of Frank Herbert, what's your number one game, Mark?
I didn't even go.
Oh Jesus! Speaking of John, what's your number one game, John?
Off the rails.
Off the rails, big time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna ask Nick. Do you have the Asimov's Foundation? Do you have the first book?
I've got all of them.
Okay.
So I have an original publication, if you can believe it. Yeah. Talking about cyberpunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
sorry.
yeah. We can talk about this later.
Yeah. So my number one is Ghost of Tsushima.
What's that? I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Ghost of Sushi.
Yeah.
Oh, Ghost of Sushi.
Is that on everyone's list? That game? I think it's on every single person's list.
It's my number one because it's
Ghost in the Shell.
Actually, I don't think Mike's played it, and I think that's the only reason it's not on his list is because he hasn't played it.
Right?
Yeah, I will play it one day. But
No,
I
it's
trust
fine.
you
I'm just
guys.
saying, like the reason it's not on your list. I guarantee you would like it.
I guarantee I would too.
I'm in Act 3. So some key highlights of the game that I really liked first one was like meeting Luna for the first time, where she teaches you all the stealth moves. So it's your first exposure to a different kind of techniques other than your usual samurai techniques. And then when you're going in and you're taking over Castle Shimura, it's that first castle in Act 1 that you're going and you fight against. It's a nice battle. It's your first encounter with like a larger kind of battle in that space. And then when you go meet the Straw Hats in Act 2, and you meet up with your best friend or one of your old friends, Ruzo, who later on betrays you, where you have to go against 5 different duels. I'm sorry. Should have said spoilers.
Seems
Spoilers?
fine.
Deal with it.
Well, I want. Okay. The last part,
You're banned.
which was
You're
probably
banned. You're banned.
You
man.
son of a bitch!
We just did this whole thing. I swam out to a fucking boat with him and shit. God damn it.
Oh, by the way, Eris dies. Sephiroth
This is
kills
why I
her.
didn't want to come onto the side.
All right.
Fucking hell.
The last key highlight
Started the
that
game.
really blew my mind in this game was the first time that you use Ghost Dance. It's an experience that it's gonna just knock your socks off, especially in
That's
with
funny.
this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, and then the 13 different kinds of armor that you can collect, all the different tails you can go through to learn different techniques that are going to be part of all of the different ghost abilities and ghost skills and weapons that you got. It's all fun as an experience. So that's just like single player campaign. Then there's all the multiplayer stuff that we've been talking about. And so I've really enjoyed Legends, and I've really enjoyed both the multiplayer modes with the survival and story. And they're progressively getting harder every single time. I can't wait to do a raid though.
Yeah, we're getting so close to that raid. I gotta get on there and play some more with you guys so we can get some raid content in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What level
Fourth,
is
though.
that?
Oh, it's 110 or something. It's something ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
Okay.
for
'Cause I'm-
which?
For the
Nightmare?
raids and Ghost.
No, for the raid.
You just need to do
Oh,
100.
You
100
guys,
to
you
start
guys
the
are
raid.
well. You guys are well over that. I thought.
so
I'm
I'm
105.
105 right now.
I'm also 105.
Yeah, so that's your cap on gold, right? And then at that point, you need to have 4 players that you're consistently playing with, that you
What?
know their capacity, their style, and everything else before you even start Nightmare. Like if you jump into a bunch of randoms in Nightmare, you got to be 110, because quite honestly, the level difference in difficulty
Mm.
with just defeating the first couple of guys is absurd. Like there are Onis right off the get-go, and it's like one hit and you're just down on the ground. I started and I got killed and everybody left.
Wow.
Fuck. Yeah. Never mind then. Damn. Okay.
It's an investment. So like, look, I mean, the three of
Sure.
us have been investing into gold. Like, I'm sure I'm gonna get up there to the 105 at some point, but we just need one more person. Dan, we need one more. Dan, don't hide, Dan. I see your secret lab chair.
Mike, you got a shiny PS5. Mike. You're
Mike.
bored
Yeah,
now.
Mike.
Come on.
Dedicate
Wouldn't that
hundreds
take
of
a long
hours.
time for me to catch up to you guys?
Yeah,
No.
No, it took me. It took me one night to get to level 40. I think.
Yeah, we got Dan
It's
from
hilarious.
bronze to silver in 3 matches, I think.
Three or 4 hours it took us in one night.
it'll slow down after that, but it's
Sure, but
Like-
yeah.
there's a bunch that we can do at our level that we can. I think somebody took issue with me saying power leveling, but that's kind of what it is. Like you have to be a certain minimal level in order to hit some of the tranches of like silver, gold, nightmare. But once you hit that bottom level tranche, like we're just gonna power you through that set of levels until you hit the next tranche.
Say tranche again.
Tranche.
Is that the French word for trench?
La
Tranche?
la poisson.
Segment. Tranche is it's an Anglicism die.
I'm poisonous.
Tranche.
Fame poisonous, or as the French would say, la poisson.
Like Quebec showing.
Mark.
Mark.
Mark, what's your number 1, Mark?
Johnny Mnemonic, the video game.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say the pinball game, because that was a
80
great
gigabytes.
pinball game.
I'll 80 gigabytes without any compression needed. Um, Yeah, the Cyberpunk is just what I wanted for this year. I've been looking forward to it ever since I did my new PC build.
Mm.
Um, it's all the stuff that Nick was saying. Like, I'm a huge fan of like and a lot of different.
Oh no. We're gonna lose
We
Mark
we
right
we were doing
Oh,
so
what?
well with the glitchiness and up
Oh,
until
my
then.
bad.
Oh wait, oh shit! Now you're good. Now you're good.
There was a glitch. There we go. It's more
now.
interactive. See?
You're a big fan of?
It's so funny that
Um,
you're talking about Cyberpunk and something is glitching.
Yeah.
What a
I
weird
have my
circumstance.
TV and my 2 monitors hooked up all to the PC. So the TV decided to turn off and it just blanked
Oh
out
shit!
everything.
Okay, so there's a reason it's not shitty internet on my
No.
part.
Um,
Cool.
I'm a big fan of like Borderlands and a whole bunch of games like that, but I'm also into like cyberpunk movies like End of Days and not even the next one.
yeah.
Strange
End of
Days.
Days,
Strange Days.
Strange Days.
Strange
Wow,
Days,
and
thank you, not End of Days.
Brain
that-
Dance, man.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Strange
Brain
Days
Dance.
is like the original Brain Dance movie.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, like Blade Runner and all that stuff. So for me, Cyberpunk was really important. It was a game that I wanted to play for a long time. And so far it's delivering. Although I haven't really touched much of the story, I'm just like Nick. Very nice. 2048 was awesome.
This is this is the 4K version, which I'm really looking forward to checking out.
That's such a well done movie. So yeah, I haven't really done too much with the main game. I just got to the title screen around like 25 hours.
Nice.
Oh, I
yeah,
haven't
Blade
played
Runner. Yeah.
That looked like.
This game, you know what? I get locked up on it because there's so many aspects that I go, crap, they really could have done this a little bit better. Like the AI, like the NPC AI, really is just stupid. Like it's bad. I've seen better AI in earlier games, but do I really care? Like, is that really something I'm going to get locked up on? Because, quite honestly, they're just background noise when you're playing the game.
Exactly, and it's still fun regardless. Like, even the AI, like when you're attacking guys, they're pretty stupid. But playing on hard actually gives you a bit of a difficulty. Like, yeah, you take a shot or two, you're feeling it, right?
Yeah.
The core is there of a really, really great game. Like
It is, and I'm
the
looking
framework
forward
is
to that.
there. It's 3 months. It's going to be fucking amazing.
Well, it's
I'm
Witcher
Oh, yeah.
3. Witcher 3 all over again, right?
Exactly. Witcher 3 was phenomenal, especially, by the end build, it was just, I don't think there's a game that could touch it RPG wise. I have a feeling Cyberpunk might go that way. Like if they keep adding to it and building up what this game is all about. They have gold. It's just right now it's tarnished. It looks bad.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're not going to abandon it, right? So
No.
to your
No,
point, like
God no.
I didn't play a ton of Witcher 3 at launch in May, whatever that hell was, 2015. But I played a shit ton of it like November to January, and it was incredible. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with that game. And so,
Yeah.
that 3 to 4 month window that you guys are kind of talking about, that's like CDPR time. That's them just being like, well, what if the donkey didn't fly into the sky? Like, let's tweak that. Yeah, okay. I'm fine with that. Like the way that I slow burn games, like that's fine. Unfortunately for a guy like Mike, who's like 45 hours into this thing in the first 2 weeks, like that's gonna be tough for you to kind of come back to in 2-3 months time.
You're
when they
playing the
fix it.
worst 2 weeks of the game ever.
I'm thinking I will make a male character. Like my character is a female V, and I'll probably start a new character. Like I could see myself doing that. I love the feel of the world that much that I would do it again. I'd go through it.
Yep.
Well,
over
the options that you have too, like because I'm doing the street,
Yeah,
whatever it's
Street Kid,
called.
Oh, I was a
Um,
corpro asshole.
Street Kid's been great so
Street
far.
Kid, and like the thing is, I get points for just picking up stuff.
Yeah. I'm
I always
curious
pick
what
up
the
a
Nomad is going to
friggin'
be
bag
like,
of
man.
chips, and it's like you got some points. I'm like, holy shit, this is weird. I could see that being totally different being a nomad. Like I could see the game being very different being a nomad. I don't know why, but
Well, Well, because you're out on the outskirts of nowhere, and your family's all, or sorry, your group, your social setting's all about your clan. Versus like in Corpo, it's a completely different mindset, right? Versus Street Kid, where it's just like you and your fixer, right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
So who's Nomad? Who's playing Nomad?
I don't think
I think
anyone
we're all
is.
playing Street Kid.
yeah, I'm Street Kid.
Yeah, I'm
Nobody.
Street, I'm
Okay.
Street Kid.
Street
Yeah,
Kid.
too.
Yep.
It's
You
fun, like,
heard? I'm Street Kid now.
So I think my next build is going to be Nomad, and I'm going to go for like just a pure power build. It's all going to be
Oh,
body. It's all going to be
Tearing doors open
like
and
strength, and it's all going to be like forget about the stealth. Forget about like I get it that some of it's going to be that, but I think I'm just going to go like pure like run in there, just gun guys down. Like I can do a little bit of that, but it's not my character's strong suit. Like certainly the hacking and distance fighting is much better, but yeah, I think my next build is going to be like a pure. But also consider that even on the current platforms, non-PC, they haven't even turned on ray tracing, which
I
is
know.
fully supported by these
I
next
can
gen
see
consoles.
I can
So
see Series X like being able to handle it at 30 frames per second. Like I'm playing
it's
at
completely
the
unoptimized game.
what do you call it? Quality mode on Series X? I don't know what you're playing it at, Nick.
Yeah, quality mode.
Yeah, because performance is 60 frames per second, but it's like there's a lot of compromises to the fidelity. There's less people, less cars. It doesn't look as good. I'm like, screw that. 30. It's locked 30 frames per second, like meticulously locked at 30. I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. GTA 5 was like 20 frames per second at best at some points. So it was like locked 30, totally fine. I don't care.
If I wanted to play a game that looked like shit, I'd play it on a PS5. But, you know.
Oh, we have a guest. Is that Tails or Sonic?
That's Tails.
Oh, okay.
Come on, Mike. He's
Yeah,
orange.
Samus.
It's obviously Tails.
Yeah, Sonic is like 20 pounds
He's
nowadays.
blue, obviously. Sonic, right?
Yeah. He's not running around nearly as much as he should these days.
So it's funny that you mentioned builds in Cyberpunk because I've been going stealth the whole time, and I get tired of it occasionally, and I just want to go nuts. So that's when I pull out the epic dildo weapon that I have, and I just like start whacking people with a charged attack, and I can one-shot people, and I just like
Just like sneak
smack
up,
'em with
sneak
the
up
thing.
behind him and just beat them with the dildo.
Oh, it's so funny. You just like get right up in their face and like like with the fucking.
Can you just
dildo.
like wiggle it in their face and then whack?
Is that like the? Is it one of those Polemancer 3000 ones, or is it?
No, it's got a really funny name. It's like an iconic one. It's
Is that the one you find in the bedroom of?
Yes.
Okay, and it's sitting on the bed.
Yes.
Okay.
No spoilers, but yeah,
It's like
got
Saints
it's
Row.
funny. It's got a really funny name. It's called Lord something something.
You can give it its own name, like the Pulverizer or something. You know, like-
That's totally Saints Row style right there.
Pulverizer. The Tenderizer.
Yeah, oh Jesus
Tenderizer.
Christ.
Tenderizer.
Mike, what was your Mike? What was
Nothing
your?
tender about that, man.
Did you?
So yes, speaking of the cyberpunk genre, my number one is Final Fantasy VII Remake, which
You know what? I was gonna.
Good choice, man. Good choice.
thanks,
yeah,
man.
That's a beautiful game.
Dude, I will never forget the first time I played Final Fantasy VII. I would stay up really late on school nights playing that game on my brother's PlayStation because he somehow convinced my mom to get him a PlayStation and Final Fantasy. And I was sitting there being like, I'm the Final Fantasy guy in the house. Like,
What the fuck?
but my little brother's the one that's getting the PlayStation. All right, fine. That's cool. That's cool. I'm going to play it when you go to bed, son. So I would stay up for hours and hours just absorbing this world and playing it on. Well, I was playing it on PS4 at the time. Just the care and the thought that they put into the visuals for this game to reimagine it is exactly how it was in my head when I was playing it originally. Like when you look at those pre-rendered backgrounds, I was like, oh, if I could walk through those. What if I could actually like wander through this like 2D background? And they've completely pulled that off. And the combat, as a Souls man myself, I'm a Soulsman. Dude, it's
Mr.
fucking
Soulsman.
hard. Holy shit! Like, it's challenging as shit.
Did you
Now,
play on
granted,
hard though?
Not my first playthrough.
Hmm.
I played through it 3 times, I think.
Jesus Christ! Oh, to platinum it, right? 'Cause
I
you platinumed
platinumed it. I had to platinum it. But you can chapter select and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But on hard mode, that is a hard game.
Damn.
challenging, satisfying, and the soundtrack is just fucking tear jerking. Like just remembering all of these songs and stuff, and we all know what happens in the game and stuff, but it touches upon that a little bit. Like it foreshadows the big thing that happens in that game, and oh my god, like
Yep.
I cannot wait for the next one. I am
Well,
so stoked. I'm all in on this shit, man.
isn't it
So
sort of an
I've-
alternate universe thing too with that game?
Hmm?
Isn't it an alternate universe to 7 as well?
Dude, if you can change the course of what happens in the original one, I will be so happy. Like,
I have a feeling that that's what they're gonna go.
oh, I will be so stoked. And I know there's nerds
You-
out there
you
that
think-
are going to be like so upset if
You
they
think they're
change
going to
that.
diverge from that?
I hope
A little
so.
bit. Yeah.
I don't
No.
think they should. I think if you are placing a remake title on a game and you change that particular
No,
character's
it should be a choice, Nick. Like one or the other. Like you should be able to choose to do that through your actions, and it should be difficult.
I don't
um,
agree.
Like
I
you should
think
be able to resurrect General Leo in motherfucking Final Fantasy IV. Okay, like that should have been a thing. Like everybody knows.
Listen,
Some people know what I'm talking about.
but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
story building, and it's an epic. Like I mean, like this game, still to this day, like if somebody were to say what is the most tragic moment in any video game, that is easily going to be in the top 3.
Have you,
But-
have
But
you
if they
played
make
the
you go
game?
through hell to try to like prevent that from happening, like it would have to be very difficult, and I would go through all of it just to try to.
This is Square Enix we're talking about. You barely want to change anything about their
Yeah.
video game to begin with.
They're not
right?
gonna
let
allow
alone
that.
Wishful thinking. I don't know.
The thing
There's
is
no
they
way,
have
no.
changed some stuff in the story, and they've introduced stuff that hasn't happened in the original 7.
Yeah, the stuff
Now
with
is-
Jesse was like really heartbreaking in the remake.
But is that a reason because it's a different mechanism of storytelling that differs from how the original technology allowed us to play the game?
Possibly.
Like there's enough of a technological leap in both what the console is capable of doing, but also what us as consumers want from the game that warrants that little bit of change.
I think you're right on both counts with that,
Yep.
for sure.
But
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
Square took some liberties though. It's
Yeah.
beautiful though. Like that's a game where you play it on the PS4 Pro or a base model, and it looks just as well and it plays just as well.
I played on the base PS4 and I was very satisfied with it.
It was impressive.
great
'cause,
looking
like
game.
it was
Some of the
a
things were-
So-
piece of a game.
About liberties, like I assume purists might be upset. Maybe I don't know. Like I thought that I was a huge fan of FS7, like personally, and I thought that I would have a big litmus, like a good litmus test, is to let me play it. And if I thought it sucked, I would assume a lot of people thought it sucked. If I thought it was good, I'd be like, nah, there's gonna be some cranky fucking nerds that don't like this game, probably. But
Yeah, but
like that
the,
with every game.
here's the problem. Everybody's kind of going, people are cranky about everything these days. Like, people are cranky that there's too many dildos in Cyberpunk. Like, give me a goddamn
say there
break,
should be
people.
who was
I'd
it
say
that said
not
there should be a
enough.
slider? Was that you, Mark?
Not enough.
Genius, Mark. The
Yeah, not
slider for
enough
dildos.
dildo
You should
slider.
customize the amount of dildos you want in that game.
Yeah, like I want a ton of dildos. Done.
colors.
Size, number of studs on them.
Yeah, you know how big the balls are. Like everyone wants this stuff.
Suction cups or
No.
no suction cups.
Oh, strap-ons. Come on, like it's the world's their oyster with dildos, right?
It's the future,
They're
for
missing
fuck's
out.
sake.
You're missing
It's
out on
the
huge opportunity.
future.
But,
I love how many sex shops there are in the game. I just find it hilarious.
Well, that
But-
shows how European they are versus
Yeah.
the
Very
squeamish.
liberal.
This
Very
is like
liberal.
current day
okay.
Poland. This is like current day
But
Poland.
this isn't. But you saw that article around. Yeah, there's too many of this in the game. Like, yeah, it's because we've got this squeamish North American audience that doesn't know what to do with the too
Thank
much
you.
sex on screen.
Thank you. And you know, it really goes to show you that the Western view, when as soon as you cross the ocean, there is a distinct difference between the North American Western versus the Eastern Western in terms of what's acceptable in forget about video games, but just multimedia content, commercial content, like the amount of videos and commercials that I've seen come out of like Scandinavia that would turn like a standard Karen's head around in circles.
Oh,
You know, but
don't get started, dude. Like, okay, when I was in the Netherlands, like your afternoon commercials, they're
Yeah.
topless. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
come on, they're not opposed to nudity at all, and I'm like, we should embrace more of that here in North America.
I get pissed off all the time with customers because they'll be like, "Oh, I need a game for my kid." I'm like, "Well, maybe not Call of Duty because you're shooting people in the head, right?" And
Maybe
they're
not.
like, "No, he's allowed to play Call of Duty. If it has swear words, then he can't play it." I'm like, "You draw the line on swear words, but you're letting this kid shoot bullets into a real like lifelike person's head." Or
the next question I would have is, are you dual citizen with the U.S.? Like, are you American first, or
oh, dude, it's ridiculous. Or if they see a tit on the screen, they'll have a hissy fit,
Oh yeah.
right?
but shooting guys, you know, but like, that's okay, right?
Yeah, that's fine. They're
I love the
terrorists.
programming
Little
we're
Johnny's
training our
friend,
kids with.
little Johnny's friends play it, so he's allowed to.
But I remember telling this old lady, I'm like, she's like, I want to get Grand Theft Auto for my grandson. And I told her straight up, like, no, I think that's a horrible idea. There's sex and there's violence. There's two things that you don't want your kid to be exposed
What a
to.
stupid amount of it. It's
Right?
like comically.
She comes in the next day and she starts yelling at me. He's like,
Eat
I
the
didn't know
mic
he
boom,
could pick
you
up
idiot.
hookers and shoot them afterwards. I'm like, lady, what part of sex and violence did you understand? Like,
You just explained those two things.
like, it's filled with it. You're buying this for your kid. You're a bad parent. I'm sorry. Like, this is a
Fuck you,
bad
Karen.
idea.
Get out of my store.
You're just not giving a shit because you're caving into what your kid wants.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
think-
the game is not appropriate.
We mentioned
Sorry.
squeamishness with the Americans, but it's not even that. It's hypocrisy because they are so absolutely into porn. Like, fucking, if you check the traffic on Pornhub, I guarantee you, a fucking fuck ton is from the States. But these are people that are pretending that it doesn't exist. It's like, oh, what happens behind closed doors and in secret is okay, but God forbid that we talk about this stuff. And
Yeah,
and
but
that we,
hypocrisy is central to the to the American way, right? Everything right down to gun ownership, and you know, like, hey, you know, COVID is a problem. Let's wear a mask. No, mask is so problematic. It's against my amendment for freedom of anything, right?
it's
But
illogical.
you know what? There's a lot that you can argue there about hypocrisy in the U.S. And you know, you're never gonna come to a consensus on what's right and what's wrong there. But
It bugs me when it comes to media like video games. Like, it's an expression of art, and people are going to complain about the amount of dildos in a fucking game when, hey guys, it's a Polish developer. Like, they're a little more comfortable with this stuff than you're used
this is
to.
what happens when you have a bunch of white hairs who's run the country, and you know they want to run it the same way it was run 200 years ago. So
I think CDPR's
Just,
office is just like that. You
Kinda
walk,
laughing.
you walk around their office and there's dildos everywhere in the office.
Can't forget the amount of time and energy that 3D modeler had to put into each one of those dildos.
Oh, he enjoyed it. He probably just looked around his office. He's like,
He did it for free and over.
yeah, he did it for free in his spare time.
So much love.
He already had them made. He was like, oh, hey guys.
Yeah.
an email went out to all of the females, and it's like, listen, can you guys bring in some reference
I'm
material?
gonna 3D scan your dildos to save time.
Yes,
For science.
yes, the females, Nick. Just the female. On that note, on the dildo note, I think we're gonna sign off. This is the last one we're doing 2020. This is like
Probably the longest episode ever, right there.
actually it's not surprisingly.
Wow.
Ripping, tearing, and the time of COVID.
Ripping,
It's about time.
tearing, dildos, etc.
One time we took this amount of time just to do 20 questions.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
But we'll see you in 2021, which is it's like 9 days away. That's messed up. Anyways,
Merry Christmas.
sayonara,
everybody.
Merry Christmas, and
Merry
all that jazz. Ciao.